We're rolling. Pat, thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming in here on a whim and not knowing me or what you're getting into.
Yeah.
I appreciate and admire the bravery.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me
Yeah.
and yeah, good to be here.
So tell me what Peak Aviation is and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Peak Aviation is a third-party consultant broker, and so we essentially have relationships with end users slash travelers, and we try to bridge the gap between them and various different aviation companies around the country who have access to aircraft and manage their aircraft directly. And yeah, we try to connect the dots between the two.
So are you, in a sense, like a travel agent or a booking agent for people looking for private airfare?
Yeah, it's definitely something along those lines. Yeah. There's much more of an aspect when it comes to, safety and quality control and whatnot. And there's a lot to go into it on the back end, just making sure that, everything's running smoothly. But yeah, essentially, yeah, kind of a travel agent, but specializing in like aircraft, jet aircraft.
Yep. I had one of my clients say to me that he's got a home in Big Sky. He's from the East Coast, but and I might have saw this on your website, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times these aircrafts or jets will be deadheading. They brought some folks out here to Bozeman. They're going to go back to the East Coast or back to, yeah, back to Boston area, Florida area, and there's different services where he can find those deadhead flights. Is that something that falls in your guys' category?
Yeah, yep, exactly. So yeah, Peak has access to about hundreds of empty legs per day, really. And so they're scattered across the country, and yeah, there's a good amount in and out of Bozeman, but yeah, it's definitely nice. It's a really nice perk for Peak Aviation customers to have, but yeah, we do have access to those empty legs slash deadheads.
So is that a software that keeps that all in a database somewhere so you kind of see like what's available, and then how does that work from the client's end?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we have aviation software that essentially ties into with different aviation companies' software as well, and it pulls all that data together, and essentially it kind of spits out a line item, and then our customers can basically they can go in there and they can search by flight route, or if there's anything going on at Bozeman, and then essentially they'll get an email notification once those opportunities arise, and they can click on basically a link that says inquire, and yeah, we usually circle back shortly after with a proposal and outlining all the aircraft and pricing details. And but yeah, it's a really good way of flying private for a fraction of the cost, and usually there's some restrictions that come with it, but yeah, if you're able to capitalize on some of those opportunities, it's great.
Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. And if you don't know what Mountain Mule is, we provide private transportation services and Yellowstone National Park tours. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, consider following the show. Whether you're using our services directly or following and sharing the show, those simple actions help support this business as well as the businesses and guests that have been a part of the show. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses, local jobs, and this beautiful state. Now back to the show. I never stopped thinking about that when he mentioned it because I always thought how valuable that could be for our industry,
Yeah.
because myself and many of the operators in the same line of work as us, we have so much deadhead time
Yeah,
because almost everything in Montana is a
I'm
destination.
sure.
We're not going to another city where there's all kinds of people coming back. So usually we have to charge just because of the economics, that round trip
Right.
price, because our vehicle's on the road. I always wondered if there was something like that for that industry, how valuable that could be, how much money it could save,
Yeah.
make a company like mine and save a consumer at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the system's not foolproof. I mean, there's so many different operators that are based around the country that
Yeah.
don't subscribe to that software, so it's missing that data. But yeah, I mean, if there's one way to pull all that data into one centralized location, that would be amazing and streamline the industry and make it so much more efficient.
Yeah, my thought was, and maybe you run into this too. So someone sees we'll use Big Sky for an example because we go there so much.
Sure.
So we got a car scheduled to make a drop off in Big Sky at 2 p.m. These clients come in, their flight gets delayed an hour and a half. That then obviously throws off the drop
Right.
off. And then what's the contingency there? Because, if they planned on this 2 to 2:30 pickup and it's now a 3:30 to 4. So that's where I'd imagine logistically it'd get the most
So,
complicated. And I don't know if
yep.
I'm sure you deal with that fairly
Same
frequently.
exact
Yeah.
problem. Yep, exactly. We run into a weather issue where the aircraft is hung up the night before, which, slows down the crew getting ready and running into delays on the back end of things. So yeah, we very much run into the same exact scenario.
So does that become sort of a transparency in what they're what they're buying? This is a deadhead leg. So it could vary. Your pickup time could vary because it's all based on this prior itinerary.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And it's contingent on a lot of different factors, but mostly it has to do with aircraft owners. So let's say if an aircraft owner needs to get from Bozeman down to Phoenix, well, there could be an empty leg on the back end of that. But if the owner cancels that first leg, if he no longer needs to go or plans change, so on and so forth, essentially that back half of that empty leg will get scratched. And so, yeah, we always like to give people kind of a heads up if we're going to put them on an empty. If they're subscribed to our empty leg list, they already know what they're kind of getting themselves into. But if we're able to go out and we actually source an empty leg outside of the platform, yeah, essentially we always try to give them a heads up just because there's so many different factors that could get skewed.
Yeah. So sometimes this client will own the jet and is it they've got some sort of agreement that they'll let people take it? Or are these just owned by a company and then they're used for multiple people? Is there
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's companies that just use their aircraft for company use, and that's it. But a lot of times, what happens with aircraft ownership is if the owner's not using it, they will essentially lease the aircraft to another company to sell charter in the meantime to offset some of their costs. More often than not, it's not exactly like a money making operation. You're not going to essentially earn profit off of that, but you will make up a lot of, the fixed and variable costs of owning your own aircraft if you do end up leasing it out to a charter company.
I mean, because just the maintenance or just
Yeah.
owning that thing is very expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess it's any of those in between from somebody owning it and leasing out sometimes to a company owning it and just people are just buying is that more of like a NetJets model where people are just a member of NetJets and then how do these different models work?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a number of different ones. There's regular ad hoc charter, which is, kind of the one-offs. So that's more geared towards, us. So like going out into the market, someone needs to get from A to B. We essentially circle back with, the best available options based on like an extensive market research. So that's kind of how we operate. And then obviously there's fractional, so people essentially buying time on an aircraft. And then there's also jet card, and then obviously aircraft ownership solely as well. So there's a number of different, ways to go about it. And it really just kind of boils down to how much utilization you're going to have. If you're flying 250 hours a year, it probably makes more sense to own an aircraft. Whereas, if you're flying, 50 hours, under 50 hours, 60 hours a year, it probably makes more sense to just use like a regular broker like Peak or, do a jet car program. And then oftentimes a lot of people do a hybrid approach where they're a jet card ownership and they use us or, they have their aircraft ownership and then they also have a fractional ownership with another airplane. So, but it really boils down to utilization, how much utilization you're going to have per year, per month.
Someone told me this a while back. I have no idea if it's true. I don't know if you know that Super Bowl Sunday has like one of the highest jet travel days in the US.
Oh yeah,
Is that true?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we're, coming up to the Masters. The Masters is always crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, those special events, yeah, they're very difficult to navigate around just because there's so many different logistics. Airports fill up very quickly. there's slots, different reservations that you have to make, landing permits. There's a lot of different things that are involved in kind of those special events. But yeah, Super Bowl Sunday definitely takes the cake.
Okay, so they were
Yeah.
they were spot on with that.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
any other big major, days around the year?
Yeah, I mean Christmas and New Year's. Christmas and New Year's is always really, really popular. Sunday after Thanksgiving is always one of the more popular days. Just because I think a lot of people, they have flexibility to leave on the front end, but then usually they have to be back on that Sunday for Monday work.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Sunday is Thanksgiving, and then yeah, Christmas, New Year's, and then yeah, the Masters, the Super Bowl. But yeah, different events like that.
Yeah, I know locally here, Christmas to New Year's is definitely one of the busiest week
Yeah, it's crazy.
in Big Sky with the ski season. President's Week, that like middle
President's Week,
middle of
definitely.
February, and that's kind of around that
Yep.
Super Bowl. But yeah, it's very yeah. So
Yeah,
how
any major holidays really are always going to be pretty busy on the front end and the back end.
are you guys doing is a lot of it local to here, or are you guys all over the country?
Yeah, I think what people don't know about us most is that, yeah, we have a global reach. And so we do facilitate a lot of business in and out of Bozeman. But yeah, at the same time, I would probably say, the split's about 30% in and out of Bozeman, and then
Mhm.
70% is just kind of all around the US, and then the occasional international trip from time to time.
Yeah, it's very interesting in the industry that I'm in. I told you we're getting into park tours, but the chauffeur and car service,
Yeah.
a lot of the companies do work globally, and you just have affiliate partners.
Yep.
We have some here locally that we work with because we'll get overbooked or they'll get overbooked. So it's great to have that working relationship where
Yeah.
we can help each other fulfill bigger jobs or busy
Hmm.
times. Some of these guys are really, I don't even know if they meant to, but then they become more of a booker.
Hmm.
But a guy in New York and he's on the same software as you. And then
Hmm.
a guy outside the US. And there was a guy last year in Vegas. There's an event there annually, and he said he was doing about 200 rides a day based in New York City, and he didn't own a car.
Wow.
So it's crazy. You
That's
can you can
wild.
totally go to one end or the other, and we have companies in New York and Boston area and Florida that'll hire us. We don't usually do it the other way around, and it's just
Hmm.
because we haven't focused on that area.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like taking on a little
Yeah.
bit of a different avenue of the business,
Yeah.
but
Different beast.
you just have to know that you can trust them
Yep.
because it's going to be your client that you're putting with them, and they're
Right.
they're sending their clients to us, so they know our standards, they know what we're doing. But it's very interesting the way that it could be a global business if you wanted it to,
Yeah,
even
definitely.
based out of Bozeman here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we obviously like to add our personal touch whenever we have clients flying in and out of Bozeman. So we always like to try and make a presence, but it is very difficult when, the trip is originating or arriving to, somewhere else in the United States. And, we're really relying on that operator to carry out the trip to the best of their abilities and execute the trip, you know, to the standard that we expect every single time. So it is a little bit challenging, and that's why we don't try to work with just everyone. We really try to work with great operators that have reputable reputations, high time crew members, and then we just know that they're going to do a really good job and make sure that we have a great customer experience at the end of the day. Not all operators are like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So it makes things challenging. And so we just kind of rely on our industry knowledge of who to use, who not to use. And, thankfully we have a great network of amazing people that do an amazing job. So,
Yeah, it's very similar to this industry. So every year, I've gone the last 2 years to Vegas. They have this NLA, it's the National Limo Association,
okay.
and in this, what a lot of this event is based around is networking, meeting the operators, so you can have real relationships. Because it is weird if I'm sending my local Bozeman client here with somebody. Oh, we'll take care of you in Florida. I don't know who they are. I
Exactly.
don't know what they're going to get, and it's going to come back on me.
Yep.
So it just takes time to build those relationships, and there's some guidelines and some protocols a lot of people in the industry follow, and then some really don't, and
Yeah.
it's all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we definitely have a preferred network of people that we kind of work with across the country. And on top of that, we like to try and go to the same exact point of contact every single time, just to maintain that relationship, build that relationship, and just have some sort of consistency there on kind of what to expect.
Yeah, and same thing to local here. Like we can do things very specific here that we do with our clients that we can't really ask people to do in other places.
Sure.
And we don't even know the logistics of their airport, the way we'll meet our
Right.
clients, whether it's at BZN or at the FBO. And we have things we'll do that are above and beyond, but we can't ask somebody in LGA to do that because we have no
Oh
idea if
yeah.
they can even go inside. And
Yeah.
so it's just a different animal. But
Yeah. Not sure if you're going to have access to the ramp.
yeah,
Yeah, I totally understand how that goes.
yeah. So that's where my apprehension is with working with everyone because we try to maintain, but you also, sometimes if you want to grow, you need more people. So you got to
Yeah.
trust, and it's a give and take.
Yeah. Yep.
How did you get into this business?
Oh man. Yeah, so I would say about 10 years ago, I moved to Bozeman almost to the day. And I worked for an aviation startup at the time called Summit Aviation. And I worked there for about 8 years with some amazing people. They were definitely like a family to me, and they were just so wonderful. And but yeah, I packed everything up into my little Volvo when I was living in New Hampshire, and moved across the country and joined this little aviation startup called Summit Aviation. And yeah, I spent 8 years there. And they ended up actually selling to an organ transplant company out of Boston. And so all of our clients, they needed a new home. We've been building and fostering those relationships for 8 years. And I saw an opportunity there to just kind of branch out and start my own thing. And I reached out to an investor at the time, and I actually used to manage this individual's aircraft. And then during the pandemic, it was doing so well that he bought a second airplane because he actually did start to make money off of it, which is kind of a rarity within the aviation world. Um, and yeah, I reached out to him, and he decided to partner up with me. And so yeah, we've been in business for about 2.5, almost 3 years now. And yeah, I would say after the first year and a half, I'd never really touched his investment because I was trying to grow things
Mhm.
organically and really not try to dip into the capital as much as humanly possible. And so he actually gave me an opportunity to buy him out. Yeah, after probably a good like year or so.
Nice.
And so yeah, I own Peak out right now, but now we're looking to scale, and I'm like, maybe we should have
I
just
need that
kind of
capital
held
back.
on
Yeah.
to, yeah, we should have held on to his investment. But yeah, no, it's been super fun, and it's been a grind, as any other business owner will probably tell you. It's been a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. And uh, I also have 3 kids, and 2 of them are uh, twins.
Oh,
So
you got your hands full.
yes, but yeah, there's some busy days right now. But it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. It's also been really frustrating, and try to not slam my head against the wall most days.
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
there. I know the feeling.
yeah, I would imagine. But yeah, it's been great. It's been a blast. Met a lot of great people.
That I know that exact feeling, and like there's so much overhead with this. If I want to own all my vehicles in house,
Yep.
it's there's something so great about being independently owned and being on your own, but your own credit can only go so far. So it's that push pull of, do I want to bring in other people? How fast do I want to grow this?
Right.
And do I want to lose the flavor that I bring to it because
Yeah.
I've handed over some of the decision making?
Yep.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I know that feeling.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely tough. We're definitely at the point where, we're trying to make that next step of, scaling. We just actually hired our first employee back in November. So that's that's been a rewarding experience. Also, it's just different having an employee because I was on my own for so long. And
Mhm.
but yeah, he's awesome, awesome kid and works really hard. And but yeah, I mean, hiring employees, it's definitely a new challenge on its own.
Yeah, I know the feeling when you start to build out, because I did it just independently for quite a few years, and it's a whole it's great to have someone that has your back and be able to hand some stuff off and not be doing everything, and then
Yeah,
you're asking, "Is it the right person? Am I leading them right? Am I
yeah,
teaching them right?"
right,
All of the above.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I also, I'm sure I probably have some sort of bad habits from having done this for the last 16, 17 years. And so, I'm definitely just very self-conscious and trying to put him on a good path without giving him, you know, my bad
Yeah,
habits.
yeah, yeah. What's the biggest expense in your business right now?
Well, I would say our biggest expense is, yeah, I mean, it's been marketing for sure.
Mhm.
That's definitely been the biggest expense and trying to figure out different avenues that have been working. And obviously, we're only 2.5, 3 years into this. And so it's been a lot of different trial and error. And I think it's going to continue that way for a little bit. But yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely marketing. And that's definitely the biggest hurdle.
I was just talking to a guy yesterday, Jason, and let me not butcher how he describes himself, but he's a whiskey rep here in the state. So he sends some kind of exclusive and high end whiskeys to different places, and he was saying that was his biggest thing is knowing who his clients are and who they aren't.
Yeah.
So it's maybe not going into a small town Montana bar and trying to sell high end whiskey,
Right.
but knowing where is the market? Is it in Big Sky? Is it in Whitefish? And once he got that down, he realized it was so much less work because he didn't have to go like try to market to everyone. So it was kind of just
Right.
knowing, like, and I'm sure you have a good idea, at least from a net worth, who your clients are. And then it's like, where do they spend time? Where
Right.
do their assistants spend time? How do
Yeah.
they find us and all that?
Yeah.
And I deal with the same thing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely found more than anything, it's just kind of a relationship base.
Yeah.
Very similar to a lot of different other industries, but yeah, definitely relationship based, and um, we rely heavily on our current clients to, give us referrals and help us out, and thankfully, all of our clients are amazing, and they've been great at giving us referrals, and which has been great.
Do you pay them any kind of referral or anything like for that or kickback or?
We have in the past, and yeah, we're trying to look to, basically come up with a formal referral program. I think here moving forward, we don't have, one that's set in stone because, with aviation, it's just so hard because you could have a smaller turboprop charter from, Bozeman up to Whitefish and back, or you could have another charter that's Amsterdam to Chicago or something. So it's hard to come up with some sort of referral program when the range of charters are just kind of so drastic.
Yeah.
But I would love to come up with, just basically one kind of set standard here moving forward, just so we can be transparent, and that way our clients and prospective clients can try to understand what to expect moving forward.
What's the I mean, I know you can do charters here to Jackson. Is there like do you guys do any of that short distance stuff around here or?
Yeah, we do. We don't do any sort of like rideshare programs or anything like that. Um, but yeah, we definitely facilitate a lot of charters from, Bozeman to Jackson, Bozeman to, Missoula, over to Billings. A lot of that inter Montana traffic is really popular.
Mhm.
What normally is, 4, 5 hour drive up to Kalispell or Whitefish, you're up there in 30, 40 minutes, able to have your meeting,
Nice.
turn around, come back in the same day. Or yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, different, and also a lot of different construction companies and banks and whatnot, they're able to reach different departments or different work sites all in one day. They have breakfast, they wake up and they go hit, Missoula, Billings, Butte, and then they're home by, you know dinner time. which is great. So it's definitely a time saver.
What's the what's the average range? Like, what's the most reasonable, like you could get from here to Kalispell, like one way or a round trip?
Yeah, it depends. Round trip, it just depends on the amount of days you're staying up there. I
Mhm.
would say, one way and round trip, if the trip is going to be Bozeman to, Kalispell one way, traditionally it's going to be probably around round trip pricing anyways, because like you're saying, you
Oh
have to
yeah, yeah,
pay
yeah.
for the plane to come back to Bozeman or wherever it's based. So I would say, in a turboprop or a light jet or something like that, same day round trip is probably going to be around 65, 7,500 or so.
So in that case, so someone goes to Kalispell and then they've got like 4 hours and they go back. That's the most cost efficient way anyway, because they're paying for the jet to go both ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. So yeah, we always try to tell people, instead of trying to book two different one ways or something like that, try to do try to do a round trip. And also it's a lot more lenient with cancellation terms in case something were to happen.
Yeah.
Um, just based on a number of different factors. But yeah, the cancellation terms for a round trip are a lot more lenient than they are for one ways.
What are those, like, roughly the cancellation terms for something when somebody books like that? I mean, it's a big topic in our industry too.
Yeah, it's tough. Round trip, the airplane is usually kind of, on site already. Um, it could be based at that specific location or also could be nearby. Um, so, essentially cancellation terms are definitely going to vary depending on which operator and how they operate. And there's definitely like a number of different things I could go into
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean, usually I would say like 96 to 72. Usually kind of a staggered thing. So it's usually 100%, 75%, 50%, 25%, and as you get closer to the trip, inside a week or something like that, usually that's when the cancellation terms for a round trip would apply. For one ways are tough because essentially, let's say if you do have that Bozeman to Phoenix and, there might be another trip out of Phoenix the next day. Well, if you cancel your trip going down to Phoenix, that aircraft still has to get there, right? And so, in order to make up that difference, yeah, you have to account for that cost to make up for that difference, essentially. And so, usually one ways are subject to 100%, and it's just so tough,
Yeah.
trying to tell clients that. But essentially, the operator's job is just to maximize the most amount of efficiency for that aircraft. And so, if one piece of the puzzle is missing, you have to account for that cost. And so it's a little bit more restrictive.
Yeah, it's almost like a conversation you can never win.
Yeah, exactly.
But but it's just from the simple economics from us. Like a good example is somebody books a car and then they want to cancel within a week. Like, not only do we lose out on that business, but that vehicle was booked out, and so we weren't accepting reservations
Right.
for it. So there's a huge opportunity cost to when it's no longer listed as available,
Yeah.
and then the actual work, and then you get back to the drivers and chauffeurs and guides, and they've got a schedule, they've got a life, and
Yeah.
I've had to like really, really kind of cramp down on that, and I'm like, oh man, like you think, oh, you're like, the saying will be, you're going corporate now. What happened? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I just started like prioritizing my team and my bottom line,
Yeah.
because if I don't have a healthy profit, I can't pay them well,
Yeah.
and if they don't have a healthy schedule, it's not a fun place to work. And
Yeah.
um,
Definitely.
but you can't really have that whole conversation with a client on the phone.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah, it's definitely really tough. Yeah, I mean, for us, whenever we're faced with some sort of cancellation policy, we'll always try to advocate with each operator on behalf of the client that we're flying. So, if it is a one-way flight, but that one-way flight doesn't happen for a month, usually we have leverage and we have great relationships with the operators that we use. And so a lot of times, they're able to be flexible and either let us out entirely from the cancellation or use it as a credit towards a future flight to offset some of that cost. So that's what's really nice. It's the last minute cancellations that make things really challenging. But yeah, I mean, we'll always try to advocate as best we can for our clients.
Yeah, and we like it always depends too on the client, like how much, have we worked with them before? Is this a
Right.
one-off thing? And we do that same thing with deposits that we take. It's fully refundable up until this point. Then it's available for future credit, but at some point it just like it starts to add up the
Right.
cancellations,
Yeah.
and then got to give something to the drivers who've made arrangements in their life, and
Yeah.
I don't know, logistics are a very interesting
Yeah.
business always.
They're tough. Yeah, they're tough. And yeah, each operator, they definitely they function differently and they have different set standards. And so it's trying to navigate around some of those and using your experience from previous cancellations to apply to the future ones. And yeah, trying to advocate best for your clients.
What would you say? Have you ever had just any like crazy experiences you never thought you'd see in this industry? I can only imagine, but
Oh God.
if I don't know if people ask me that, and I don't think like anything specific that sticks out. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if I can probably talk about some of them
yeah,
on a
yeah,
podcast. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely run into at least, yeah, several, me personally, several scenarios where, yeah, we've been faced with some adversity, I would say.
yeah. Some of it's a different world too. Like like I don't know, people that are like booking cars and flying private all the time. It's just like they definitely live in a different world than a lot of societies. So you
Yeah.
just it's not. I don't even know that it's a bad thing. It's what they're used to, but they just think differently and do things differently.
Yeah, they definitely do. And yeah, thankfully, we have great clients but I know that, with some other different companies and different parts geography wise within the United States, there's probably some areas where you're going to find a little bit more of a difficult clientele, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, luckily, especially our Bozeman based like clientele, they're just amazing to work with. They're just great people. And you'd have no idea that, they could afford to fly private, let alone fly private. And, if you saw them on the street, you'd have no idea. But, I think, yeah, different parts of the country, I think that's drastically different.
Yeah, we see that too, and it's I feel like we get this cool advantage of when people are flying into Montana. It's so beautiful here. The pace is different, and it's hard for people not to be at least a little bit excited.
Yeah.
So like overall, we have great clients.
Yeah.
They're so good to the drivers. They tip so well. They're so friendly. Yeah, you would never know otherwise. Um, people like have this notion that people that are ultra wealthy are terrible. Like some of our like my favorite clients, they're so generous, they're so kind, and
Yeah.
I'm always just like, yeah, you guys are awesome. Like
Yeah.
whatever, like they're never fighting us. They're always like tipping the drivers well, and then if they do have to cancel, they're like, no, we know, like we get it. And I'm like, man, you
Yeah.
guys are you guys are so fun to deal with,
Yeah.
and they're in a good mood. So that's cool. But you're also coming to one of the most beautiful places in
Yeah.
America too. On top of that, so it's
Definitely.
um yeah, but if you're flying into a busy city and it's a different pace, like it's gonna be a
Yeah.
different thing.
It'll be a different feel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're very, very lucky.
yeah. So what do you have like a long term goal of what this like how big you'd want your team to be or any type of expansion in any way?
Yeah, we definitely have some goals in mind. Yeah, in terms of revenue and in terms of employees, and just in terms of the overall culture that we want to build. And um, but yeah, I would say for the last couple of years, we've really just been kind of getting our feet wet. You know, it, it's funny because one day you quit your job and you go to start a company, and then you automatically have this title of CEO or president. Or I don't feel like I qualify under either of those yet. So I just named myself founder, and I don't even like doing that. Um, but yeah, we definitely have some pretty lofty goals here for the next year. And I think that we've spent a good amount of time for over the last 2.5, 3 years laying down the kind of the foundation and trying to understand what works, trying to understand what doesn't. And now I think that now that we have a really good system down and we have some great employees, I think that we're really looking forward to, kind of taking the next step over the next like year or so.
How was that transition for you when you went from, working for the company to owning the company?
Yeah, it was weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's still kind of weird. Um, yeah, I mean, you just, at Summit, I was in charge of, moving airplanes and making sure that aircraft owners were happy, making sure that our clients were happy. And, but I didn't do anything when it came to, accounting or marketing, or I didn't know any of
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
stuff. So, every single day I'm learning something new, and it's fun and it's exciting, but also incredibly challenging because I didn't learn about business taxes. I didn't learn about geofencing, marketing. So it's definitely a different world for me to live in. But it's been great. It's been really fun.
Do you ever is there ever a world where you'd wanna have a hangar or have like a place right on the somewhere off the tarmac or at the airport, and would you ever wanna own any of your own aircraft and be on that side of the business or more on the side that you're on?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, actually. And I don't know. I think it's really tough being an operator, especially going through the pandemic. There was a lot of consolidation within the aviation world, and obviously pandemics happen once in a great while, and it's not exactly a scenario that people are going to get used to. But I think that there's definitely different factors of being an operator. You have to, it's its own set of challenges. Like going through the pandemic right now, we're seeing the increase in fuel pricing on a global level. And so, with an operator, you have to constantly try to compensate for those factors. And then on top of that, there's just a lot more involved when it comes to, hiring pilots, making sure that they're happy, which is sometimes pretty challenging if you ask any aviation company. Um, and then, there's just a number of different factors, training, safety standpoint, maintaining and having a good relationship with the FAA. For us, we have great relationships with the clients, and that's what we focus on the most. Um, and so I think from a broker's perspective, it's just a lot more simplistic than being an operator. And so we like that kind of simplistic viewpoint in that system. Um, but never say never. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe be an operator one day. Right now, it's really just not in the cards.
I made this joke, I guess I haven't made it in a while. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I keep saying we're Mountain Mule will have a helicopter someday because you know there's there's a majority of people that's how they get up to the Yellowstone Park,
Sure. Yeah.
and we drive a lot of people there. I'm like, well, why don't we have different options for
Yeah.
different clients?
Absolutely.
Um, there's a little bit of and that, this is obviously way off, but I don't know, helicopters can be dangerous, so you need a
Yeah.
damn good pilot, and
Yeah.
that's a whole nother world.
It is a whole another world. And yeah, I mean, they're really expensive. Yeah, I mean, safety's always just got to be number one. And yeah, helicopters, we don't do a whole lot with that right now just because we don't feel super comfortable with it.
Yeah,
If there's operators out there that we have a great relationship and with, and we can trust them, and there's different safety systems that are on the operator standpoint that we like to verify before we use any sort of vendor or anything like that. But yeah, helicopters we don't do a whole lot with, but I mean, I would imagine that there's like a great demand for that around here, especially.
yeah. I know going here to the club. I know I have another client that's got a place that's adjacent to Yellowstone Park, and I know he takes a chopper from here to there.
Yep.
It's a really cool place. You can only access through national forest, so that'd be by foot
Yeah.
or through Yellowstone Park. So I know he takes a helicopter there
Yep.
sometimes. Yeah, then up to the YC, and I'm sure there's a demand for it, but it's probably like every business that looks really appealing from the outside.
Yeah, for sure.
You get into the weeds of it, and
Yeah, a lot more convenient. And yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's probably some great opportunity there, but with great opportunity is definitely going to come a lot more responsibility. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would see the demand, especially out of the Yellowstone Club and Big Sky, and
yeah,
especially now that they're trying to build more on the Moonlight side.
Yeah, with the one and only and everything. That's a whole
Exactly.
nother.
The new golf course coming on that side.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a need for it.
Do you do much out of the Ennis Airport or the Livingston Airport?
We have definitely facilitated, a number of different flights out of both of those. Yes, but mainly, Bozeman's definitely a better choice from a vendor perspective, just because they have more hotels that they can stay at. There's more maintenance facilities here on the airfield in case something were to happen. They have longer runways. They just overall just have better facilities. But that said, geographically, there's a lot of people with second, third, fourth houses in Livingston or Ennis,
Yep.
and it's a lot more convenient for them to use. So we've definitely facilitated a number of different flights, in and out of each of those strips.
I don't know if you've driven to Big Sky recently, but there's a billboard for the Ennis
Saw
Airport.
that. Yeah.
And I was talking
You
with,
could have been here by
I
now.
know,
Yeah.
but I was talking to somebody and they're like, I don't think that's really true. Like
Yeah.
maybe if you get the pass for Jack Creek Road
Sure.
and that road's, depending on the time of year, you're going so slow on that
Yeah.
road. So, maybe a little misleading, but
Yeah.
probably depending too. If you're going to the one and only, probably be a lot quicker.
Right.
But like by the time you come all the way over and maybe go down into the meadow,
Oh, yeah.
that's it's debatable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you're going to the Meadow or if you're going up to the Yellowstone Club, you can disregard that sign.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how accurate that is. But if you are, going to the Moonlight side, I would imagine, if you have access to that Jack Creek Road, it's definitely going to be it's going to be a lot less time consuming.
Yeah. And
For
I don't know.
sure.
I don't know. I've never been on that road personally, and I don't know. I know if you work up there and live there, you can get a pass, but I don't know what the price point is. And I'd imagine they're pretty stern with it or it'd probably get pretty abused.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like it's gated and it's monitored, and only the people that work or live up in Big Sky, I think, have access to that road.
Yeah.
But outside of that, if you're just a regular client coming to Big Sky and we fly you in here, but yeah, you're not going to be able to go through that Jack Creek Road unless you can prove your residency.
We've had clients call and they say, "Oh, we're flying into Ennis. We're going to Big Sky," and then, well, we'll just ask them a few questions and be like, "Are you sure?" They're like, "Well, that's what we heard was the closest FBO," and I'm like, "It might be the closest as the crow flies,
Right.
but I would really probably recommend looking into both." And
Yeah.
we do our best to like educate anyone that's coming here, and we'll even if it like sometimes cuts us out of the equation, which we don't intentionally try to do, but we also don't want to lead people down the wrong trail because that's
Definitely.
it's going to reflect on what we're doing. But
Yeah. If you have access to that road, great.
yeah,
No problem. If you don't have access to Jack Creek Road, it's going to be a very long drive.
yeah. What about West Yellowstone? Does anything private fly in there or no?
I mean, on occasion, not really.
Yeah.
Same thing kind of with the facilities over there. They're pretty limited. And then on top of that, that airports are only seasonal. They don't pave it, or sorry, they do pave it, but they don't plow it during the wintertime. And so it's actually ends up being like kind of an ice strip because there's a lot of small planes there that land there with skis on.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
That's kind of cool.
they don't plow it. And so, you'll see the occasional requests in the summertime, people coming out to Yellowstone. But yeah, we don't really facilitate too many flights in and out of there.
Yeah, I've pulled in there at a season, and it's kind of weird. It's like an abandoned.
Yeah.
It's a little.
Looks like a
eerie.
shack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's a different thing when it's going and flowing, but it's the concept of a seasonal airport is kind of wild.
Yeah, it is. And there's really not that many of them in the
Yeah.
US. And so, but yeah, it's a little funky, but yeah, I mean, it's great for the people that are, going to the west entrance of Yellowstone, super convenient. But, if you're going up to Big Sky, flying in and out of Bozeman is probably going to be a lot better of a bet. There's just way more facilities. There's just a lot more down in this area that can facilitate, all the different requests that come with it.
Do you know anything about that dirt strip runway in Paradise Valley?
I mean, it's funny because we used to live in Livingston, and I've always wanted to drive up to the airport, and I've passed it so many times. and I've never actually gone up
That's
there and
the
seen it.
actual Livingston one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's like down in Paradise Valley, more towards
Oh,
Gardner. Um, it's literally just dirt,
okay.
and there's some small hangars there, and these I don't even know what you call these small planes, but I was taking some folks that they flew in on a jet to the Livingston Airport, which is I guess a
Sure.
little bit north of Livingston.
Yeah.
Then we took them down Paradise Valley, and they're like, "We're going to go up and cross this runway, and we're on this dirt road." And you stop, and it literally just says active runway,
Oh, wow.
and you're looking both ways, and then you go. I don't couldn't remember if there was flashing lights or anything.
Yeah.
Um, one of the
I know exactly what you're talking about,
yeah,
though. Yeah, and it's funny. Like we've definitely driven by that so many times, on the way to Chico or
yep,
Gardner, or,
yeah,
whatever. And yeah, I've always wanted to go and check it out, but I've never had the chance. And I've been to the Livingston Airport a bunch of
yep,
times with some people, but yeah, never checked out that dirt strip.
yeah. And the Livingston ones, I was going to say lawless. Maybe that's not the right term, but you can just draw and drive
Yeah.
right up there. There's not really any gates.
Yeah.
It's just a small town airport.
Yeah.
I like years ago, I was dating a girl that was going to school at University of Wyoming, and that airport there was these small planes that would connect to Denver. And you
Sure.
just walk out on the tarmac,
Yep.
and that's how every small
Yeah.
airport in America is.
Totally.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, Livingston Airport's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely just drive right out onto the
yeah,
runway. I
yeah,
don't know if that's such a good thing, but definitely makes it a lot more convenient for passengers going in and out of there.
yeah, yeah. It's cool. There's some like novelty and coolness to just
Yeah,
not having. Um, it's also nice that there's gates at the Bozeman Airport, so
yeah,
everyone can't just. It's a different world.
it is. Yeah, it's definitely a different world, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of awesome too because you have all these great FBOs. For those people that don't know what an FBO is, it's basically like a private terminal for private flyers flying in and out of. And on the Bozeman Airfield, you have a couple of really nice, great ones, and then when you go over to Livingston, it's very nostalgic. It's very blast from the past. Uh, kind of almost like World War II style. I don't know how old that building is, but it's
Hmm.
pretty old. But the FBO is awesome. It just has a lot of character, and it's just got a great old school feel to it.
I think there's a guy Ryan there sometimes maybe. Like sometimes he's in there, sometimes he's not. Depends
Okay.
depends on if the
Yeah.
flight's coming. So it's like, oh, we're closed or like we're out for lunch, no flights are
Yeah.
coming in and you're like, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
It is cool though. That's
Be back later.
yeah. That I think is what a lot of people seek sometimes with Montana is that different pace of life, and then there's obviously large variations of that
Yeah.
from no one being at the FBO to
Definitely.
everything being gated and I mean it makes sense. There's big commercial aircrafts coming in here, so
Yeah.
it's a
Definitely.
different world.
Yeah. Definitely.
If anyone listened to this, here's this, like, is there anything you're looking for, for the business or as a business owner, as far as help, as far as relationships, as far as like anything that is a big help for you?
A big help for us. No, I'm not sure right now. I think there's definitely some projects that we're working on the back end, and I think once those come to completion, and it's been some months in the works with both of those, I think that will increase our bandwidth to really try and dial down on our processes and procedures moving forward. But we're really kind of waiting for a couple of dominoes to fall before that happens. So, as of right now, not really. And, we're constantly trying to figure out, sales and marketing to best our abilities. And so that's where our focus is going to lay for this next year to try and help scale. But yeah, I mean, sales is always definitely going to be the number one lifeblood. So we just really need to focus and nail all these processes and procedures down to make sure that we are laying down the foundation to scale.
Yeah, for sure. When people use your service, how much of it is, they're on the phone, you're in person with the client, how much of it is digital through software, internet based?
Yeah, a lot of it's over the phone, calling, texting. And then, yeah, whenever we get the chance in Bozeman, we'll always try to show up in person and just try to add that touch and, making sure that we stay in front of the client. Not only that, but, we want to make sure that we stay in front of, the operators that we work with too. We want to make sure that we maintain really good relationships with those people. And but yeah, I mean, I would say if I were to put a percentage on it, I would say it's probably 60-70%, via email, and
Uh-huh.
then, the remainder through, phone call, text. But yeah, a lot of it's done over email.
How about, do you have, a line where people can call? Do you have someone answering phones?
We're 24/7,
Yeah.
365. So
Who do you do a lot of that?
yeah, oh
FBOs?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my probably like one of the biggest points of discomfort for me was, like financially, can I afford to hire someone to do dispatch? And then, it's like it was my baby. So it's like,
right,
someone else is answering the phone. I've got a rock star of a woman, Nikki, doing it. And
right.
it was huge for me. The time it freed up so I could do other stuff, but it took a while to like get there.
Yeah.
It was, uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty protective over, the clients that we have, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that, they're in really good hands every single time. And so, yeah, I more often than not, yeah, usually I kind of field most of the phone calls. Just because, yeah, people know me and they
Yeah.
know what to expect, but also if you're looking to try and scale a business, that's probably not the best use of your time.
Yeah.
And so it's just trying to figure out kind of the balance of that right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we hired, our new hire in November. Shout out Preston Meter. Um, and he's also been a huge help on the phone. So
Very
that's
cool.
been a huge,
Yeah.
huge help.
Yeah. It's like I almost hate to admit this, but like I've realized now with more time that Nikki's actually better at it than I am.
Yeah.
She's just, I don't know, she's just got like a different presence and a different energy. And,
Yeah.
if I'm trying to do five different things and I'm like, I have this meeting and I want to sit down and do a podcast, but I know the phone's ringing, then I'm kind of divided.
Yep.
And I've realized when I can sit down and focus a little more and she can focus on what she's doing, it's actually like she's better fit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was a it was a transition, but we're in a great space now. But
Yeah.
it took me way longer than I think it should have in hindsight. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I definitely understand how that
yeah,
goes.
cool, man. Well, I appreciate you doing this. I'm gonna link your site and anything, and if I think of any connections that I know specifically, I'll definitely make them for you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Was
Yeah. And if I can help you guys in any way,
Yeah,
definitely let me know.
yeah, it was
Happy to help.
cool to learn more about the private. What does FBO stand for?
Fixed based operator.
Uh huh.
And so, yeah, essentially they're just kind of a private terminal. If you're flying out commercial, obviously you go to, to the kind of main commercial building. And then, yeah, if you're flying private, usually it's just kind of a smaller type building and basically just kind of a nicer lounge area.
Yeah. Well, cool. Appreciate the info and the knowledge, and thanks for your time, Pat.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.